All right, today what we're going to be talking about is weight distribution. So there's a lot of thought on this. People tend to say Telemark is 50-50 in terms of weight on the front foot, weight on the back foot. My philosophy on this is basically this: as the terrain becomes steeper, oftentimes you tend to have more pressure on the downhill. So maybe it's 60-40, maybe it's 70-30. I like to take a more dynamic approach to it because things are constantly moving. You're sliding on snow, there's stuff in front of you. You may need to scrub speed by using more force on the downhill foot. So basically what I'm going to show you is a little trick that you can do at your local hill to practice weight distribution on the front and the back foot. So especially what this is good for is learning how to pressure the back foot more. So even as we get through beginner, intermediate, and even into being an advanced Telemark skier, a lot of times we don't pressure the back foot enough. And that's a lot of where that turn comes from, is having good pressure on the inside foot. So we're gonna go over to a little bit steeper section of the slope, and I'm gonna show you what to do. All right, so as I'm side slipping down the hill, what I'm really doing is kind of playing with the ball of my foot on the inside leg, the one where my knees dropped, and I'm practicing pressuring the ball of the foot. I also am kind of playing around with how much pressure on the front of my foot. So when you're doing that, I really want you to focus on how much pressure you're putting on the front foot, how much on the back, what happens if I experiment with more on the front, and so on. What I want you to do is get comfortable with the dynamics of a Telemark turn when the terrain is changing. So now what I'm going to show you is I'm on sort of intermediate terrain right now, and I'm basically going to show you just sort of 50-50 pressure, I would say, on this type of terrain, and how I'm using that pressure to make sure I complete my turns nicely. So you can see I was kind of using 50-50 pressure, front foot, back foot on that. If I'm getting in steeper terrain, I'm gonna put more pressure on the front foot than the back foot, but you gotta remember, you have to keep the back foot pressured at all times, because that's how you complete your turns. So play with that at your local hill, go to some steeper terrain, start figuring out how much pressure on the downhill foot, and then kind of go back and forth, 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, and it should help you get better on making your steep turns.